They could have told me that, but they didn't.
Okay.
When I found out where is my equipment, equipment is gone. It was either destroyed or sold pennies to the dollar. Now the building that I had moved into, and I hope I'm not confusing you, but when I sold the building, I realized the profit of $100,000. I paid everybody, and I figured that my equipment and my business could be worth $500,000, maybe $200,000. Who cares? I just want to get out of being in business. I wanted to get out of the city also, like the 100,000 people that left the city have been leaving the city because they can't take it anymore. This is not a dictatorship. This is worse than Iraq. Worse than Colombia, where I came from. Because then you knew that in Colombia, for example, there was a dictator, General Gustavo Rojas Pinilla, and I knew what it was all about. So I joined the students that protested against this guy. The last thing he wanted to do in Colombia was install his daughter as president. But the Colombian people didn't accept that. And I don't know what happened with American people, because here you have George Bush installed there because of his father, Richard Daley installed there because of his father, now John Stroger installed there because of his father. 3 dynasties. I thought this was a democracy. It's nothing but a joke. It is not a democracy. It's a plutocracy. The rich run this country. Don't you see that? Don't you see that?
Oh,
the rich run this country.
Okay.
Let me tell you why Richard Daley got $5 million for his campaign. Why? Because when he took over City Hall, he took over in 1989. From 1990 to 1996, he took $980 million of tax increment financing money, and it's all legal. And he took it and he gave it to corporate welfare, companies like Nabisco, Tootsie Roll, 40 million here, 60 million there. Other companies, $980 million in 6 years. So when he got $5 million, it was chicken feed compared to the $900 million that he gave all these companies when he took over City Hall. So when you say democracy, democracy is for the super rich that were connected to the politicians. If I had been connected to the politicians, my company would have never been destroyed. And it was destroyed to the ground. Building, equipment, everything. So if there are people out there who wonder why Chicago is the murder capital of the United States, you see, this is a microcosm of what's happening. They want to manage everything. Micromanagement is the death of capitalism and the death of democracy. City Hall wants to micromanage everything.
Okay, well, it was nice chatting with you. And,
Pardon?
it was nice chatting with you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. What book do you have there?
It's called The Death of the Justice System.
Oh, okay.
It gives details, it gives in detail what happened to me in court. You have no chance of winning anything in court, because if you don't have a lawyer that's connected to the judges, you lose.
All right.
And the reason why attorneys charge so much is because they have to buy the judges. Don't you see that? They buy them through legal bribes, which are campaign contributions.
All right. Okay. Nice
The
chatting.
Death of the Justice System. Get this book by Linda Achor, A-C-H-O-R. It'll tell you why Chicago is the murder capital of the United States. The courts are rotten. There are more criminals in court, and I mean judges and attorneys, than outside.
Okay. Thank you. Hi there. I am doing an interview, and your name, sir?
Eugene Wzorek.
Eugene Wzorek. Okay. Nice to meet you. Gene.
All right.
Is it true that when you were 8 years old, you remember Old Man Daley saying, "Get the judges, get the judges"?
Well, what he really meant is once you control the judges and the courts, then you control everything, because the cops and everything else work with you then to control the masses. See, and if you got that, what can anybody do? That's the key.
Okay, good. Gene, have you giving all this information to Mayor Daley?
Yeah, we did it to Mayor Daley 3 times, and to his brother and Pat Hewells once. We gave a lot of information about the fraud and everything that was going on. We got it to him one time in Mrs. Green's house when he's running for election. He was glad-handing in the coffee cups. It was John Lucille, who used to be a driver for Ed Quigley, and also was the district foreman, and he was running one of the campaign headquarters for Richie Daley, and he was my boss. Also, we did it, there was a way that you could meet Daley when he was taking out garbage about 10:30 in the morning. We'd go back there, you could pass the cop, and then they would ask him, well, me and Freddie went there because Freddie was a good friend of his, you know. And then also, we met him on Madison and Damon, that was his headquarters. He came and he was glad-handed. And you might think it's hard for us to meet him, but when you're workers, it's easy because they got to come and slap you on the back and tell you to keep up the good work. And John Lucille was something else. He gave him a bag full of evidence, one of those vanilla bags, vanilla envelopes. Gave him all the evidence in there. Daley was like, didn't know what to do.
So he didn't do anything with the...
No, he said he was going to do it, give this guy to take care of it, that you can't do this, that you're supposed to get your tapes and everything, and this can't go on, but he did nothing.
Okay. How about Patrick Fitzgerald? Does he know about all this?
From what I hear, he got the book from Mrs. Linda Aker, and she got papers back from him that they screened all her stuff and evidence. So in the Justice Department, they seen it. Patrick Fitzgerald's office seen all this stuff.
How about anybody in the Tribune?
I don't know about the Tribune, but I know
John
Channel
Cass?
7 got... Well, Cass, we called him about about 10 years ago, and we told him about the fraud that was going on, but he said at that time was too big for him, and I respect that of him.
Why? What do you mean too big for him?
Well, you know, it's hard, because like when we first went to the Channel 7 and that, we got Jim Gibbons, and Gibbons, the guy that died from leukemia, was a nice man. He went to school with a guy named Joe Myron, who was a friend of mine. And he said that if he went after the story, he'd never get another story at City Hall. So he gave us to Alex Burkhalter.
Oh, okay. And what did Mr. Burkhalter do?
Well, he did an investigation. They did a nice piece with John Drury. But the only thing is they never went after the tapes. The tapes are the killer. If you go after the tapes, then you can find out about the forgery. That's how the game is played.
What do you mean, like which Judge Duff?
Yeah, with Judge Duff and everybody else, you know, the judges that are up there. I'm sure that I'm not the only guy that ever did anything. They've been doing this for a long time. We've heard them say that and everything.
What did Mr. Judge Duff say? Something about tapes on TV?
Gordon Arnett was a tremendous lawyer and one of the best ones I ever had. He was referred to by HALT, the committee that looks into court watching and stuff like that, as the only honest lawyer in Illinois back in the early 90s. And he asked Duff for the tapes because he got it from Judge Layton, his own tapes for other kids. And Duff wouldn't give it to him. So Duff, as you can see written in the documents, said if I give you your tapes, then everybody's going to want their tapes and they're going to play them on TV every night. Well, you're allowed to buy your tapes. You're allowed to listen to them. They got earphones that you can listen to them around the 20th floor in the Federal Building there, Dirksen Building.
Oh, okay.
So in other words, the point is, if the transcripts are there, the case is over. Why can't you listen to the tapes to match them up?
Oh, so you can get your audio tapes?
Sure.
Is that
Yeah.
Cheryl Young? Is there a Cheryl Young?
Yeah,
there?
Cheryl Young's the head court reporter coordinator, and she gives you that same old line that they're all given, that the court reporter's property and they don't give them. Well, that's because they got to doctor them up. How else are they going to win their cases that are hard?
Well, they can't doctor up the audio tapes.
No, they shouldn't be able to doctor up the audio tapes, but if they do, there's ways that you can find out if those are the original tapes or not, if they try. But they know that if they give the tapes and go with the transcript, they're not going to match.
Can you prove this?
Without a shadow of a doubt. We even got the written stuff between the court reporters and my attorney that I had to fire because, and she said that they were doctoring up the docket to try to fix it, but it was hard to do. They all said that I had a trial, the wrong tapes went up for the trial. In 1994, we're coming with the right tapes, and they wouldn't put them in. But this will blow up everything, you know what I mean? This will expose how innocent guys are put in jail and stuff like that. And it probably would make the war veterans angry that they're dying over there in Iraq for the rule of law, and we don't have it here. I mean, we can prove it. We had a shadow of a doubt. There's nobody can stand up to that.
So that means if they're forging documents here, so these poor guys that are on death row, or the people that already been killed by the system, a lot of them could have been innocent because of the forged documents?
Yeah, we've told this years ago. It's going on 20 years, something like that. We've been doing this. But they knew years ago this was happening. Channel 7 knew they were docking up the tapes and that. We got evidence and letters and everything written by lawyers and so showing that they did this, showing that they knew about the alterations and what was going on. And they've been doing it in a lot of cases. It ain't just one case. I mean, figure this out yourself now, okay? Let's be logical. You got a guy that's convicted of murder. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, all the evidence says he's guilty, right? All of a sudden DNA comes and he's not the guy. Well, wait a minute. How did you get all that evidence on him then if he's not the guy? And how come nobody's ever convicted of putting phony evidence on him? Could it possibly be that if they get treated that way and they're caught, they're going to go to the superiors that let them do this all the way up to the top? That everybody knows this is happening? I mean, come on.
How can we clean this city up from all this corruption?
Well, everybody's going to have to get together,